Let's try this again. What's good, neighborhood? So, here we are just in time for another edition of Warframe Wednesday, and okay, I honestly don't know. I don't know how I'm going to. I don't know how I'm going to follow up what happened yesterday with. Well, yeah, let's just say yesterday's stream was pretty wild, and I'm actually going to be uploading it to YouTube right now. However, the reason we're here is because, for some odd reason, folks might want to actually folks might actually want to learn some stuff about Warframe from me. With that being said, I think I may wait until after this stream to upload yesterday so y'all could see exactly what I'm talking about. But I wish I could say the pre-order was placed, but my bank account is currently in the negatives due to some issues. But enough about money. We're here for Warframe, and I'm here to show you, one rookie to another, how to get the most out of your Banshee. That is, once this loads. Come on, PS4. You can load. You can do it. Okay, now, here's the thing. Unless the big Warframe revision is gonna totally just upend everything and rework everyone's abilities the way Vauban and Ember got reworked, then I would think that this stuff would still have some measure of relevance. At least I'd hope so. But at any rate, let's keep going with what we got right now. Aha. So, as I was mentioning earlier, yeah, yeah, with all that, and I did watch the dev stream for that actually, and I mean, really, all this weekly stuff is just, going over the basics as far as Warframe's abilities. So, in a way, it's a very simplistic way to cover Warframe, but I think in that simplicity, it's also kind of future-proofing it, at least for now. But anyway, now that I'm actually here, let's just go ahead and jump right into Banshee's abilities. Now, Banshee's passive Banshee's passive ability is definitely one that more shows its worth in live fire play. But basically, what it does is it silences any any weapon that she holds and fires. Doesn't matter what the sound rating is on it, it'll be treated as silenced, which should give you a little bit of a look at what Banshee's overall theme is, if the name wasn't already enough to convey it. But basically, Banshee is a Warframe based on sound. And while she may not have her abilities may not be as bombastic as, say, frames like Ember or frames like Ember or Mirage. When combined with a decent weapon layout, she's just like any of the others. She has her uses. So, Banshee, as far as acquiring her, as far as getting her component blueprints, she is the second well, not the second, but she is yet another of the 5 Warframes that you would get from accessing the Tenno Lab in your dojo. So it'll take a while. It'll take a while to construct her if you're starting out and just doing PvE and solo content. Excuse me. But Banshee's first ability, like right out of the box, once you get her, I thought I actually loaded up on energy for that. Hang on. Okay, let's try this again. Banshee's first ability, right out of the box, is Sonic Boom. Now, this right here isn't what you use for damage. No. This is a straight up crowd control projectile. Now, now what you're basically going to want to do with that is to just use it for crowd control. Use it to, use it to push enemies. You want to use it to push enemies and basically get them lined up for whatever shots you've got coming. So even if you're actually playing something like a sniper rifle, ragdoll to stagger, and then start firing for damage. Let's fill back up on energy, and we're going to go straight into Banshee's second ability. Sonar. Now, what sonar does for you is you see these markers that show up on the enemy. What it basically is using sonar, using echolocation to not only track enemies on screen within a certain radius, so they'll show up on your mini map, but also the highlighted markers are weak points. So you get in there, you fire off sonar, and then The enemy takes a few shots to the knee, or further, and they'll take increased damage. But what's more is multiple castings of sonar create multiple weak points. Those weak points can even overlap. And doing so, it increases the damage they do. Any subsequent attacks do that much further. So let's give this a couple seconds to wear off. And then we'll do this. 1, 2, 3 castings of sonar. And you'll notice that it looks like practically the enemy's entire body is practically lit up with blue. Anywhere you fire, you'll do the damage. Hey, what's good, Blue? Good to see you. Okay. So, since I've still got a group of enemies left here on the screen, we'll go for Banshee's third ability. Silence. Now, what Silence effectively does, aside from the stun, is it makes it so that whichever enemy you're using this on, in live fire, they won't use any of their predetermined tactics based on faction. So, effectively, they won't hear you coming when you come in and start doing damage. So even if your weapons are silenced by default based on Banshee's passive, the real trick is that not only will the enemy not be able to hear you, but they won't engage in any of their standard tactical responses either. So it's a kind of interesting battlefield control. Like, not even really crowd control, just area control. Alright, let's go ahead and pop some more enemies up. And we'll get down to Banshee's fourth ability. Get her to rank 10, and you'll unlock Soundquake. Now, Soundquake as an ability, firstly, it lasts as long as you have energy. So if you have other abilities going that are draining from Banshee's energy pool, then it'll decrease not only the duration but the effectiveness of her Soundquake. But more than anything, Soundquake is to be used as a support ability. Because you notice how even though the damage numbers weren't procking up, enemies were still stunned. They were still locked. So you can use that to control the area around you as well. Unfortunately, it leaves you completely immobile. So it's better that that ability is used in a team setting. Excuse me. Now, if you want to go for at least remotely something that could be remotely considered a decent mod setup, then I would suggest modifying for personally I'd suggest modifying for power strength and also for, if you've got the mods for it, but I don't have the capacity for it, it seems, put a little bit of range on her. Because with power strength and range, you've basically got further coverage for her sonar, and you've also got greater damage modifiers to boot. Okay, that's weird. Okay, I think it might be just because the enemies I have on the field were draining her energy. But here's what I'm talking about. Got a good number of sonar castings, and you'll see very quickly that I'm already dishing out in the quadruple digits worth of damage. And that's with that's with a good set of mods going. If you manage to find one in game, I would highly suggest using an Orokin reactor on Banshee or Banshee Prime, whichever variant of her you have, just so that way you've got more room to work with as far as actually making her abilities play a little bit nicer. But let's go ahead and jump into some. Let's go ahead and jump ahead into a couple of live fire missions. Oh, I'm not gonna lie. Personally, I think Banshee is another Warframe that could really use a rework.
What's on your mind, dreams?
Let's see, glyph, corrosive damage, and credits.
And we're out.
I'll just have to go with what I got. So, if I'm really going to summarize what would be a good playstyle for Banshee, I think Banshee would actually be another really good. I think Banshee would be another good stealth Warframe. It'll take a little bit of getting used to as far as how to actually work with her acoustic abilities, but between being able to stifle enemy response and also keeping a permanent silencer on your weapons due to her passive, combine that and using her sonar in order to basically increase your damage output by creating weak points. I think you can work out some pretty interesting tactics with her. And of course, being able to use sniper rifles without needing a silencer mod. What that's basically going to do is give you the advantage of at the very least having another mod slot open to customize whatever your chosen weapon is even further. No, let's do something about that. Oh, well, that didn't work out as well as I had hoped. At all. Alright, let's see. Who else needs to get shot? You do. And so do you. There we go. Let's switch it up a little bit. Yeah, I don't think those guys are going to be getting up anytime soon. Oh, I forgot this projectile can actually bounce off of surfaces. Suppose that could come in handy. Oh no, don't run. Welcome aboard the Tenno space program. Hey, what's up, Andre? Yeah, I'd say you came in at a. I'd say you came in at a pretty solid time. All right, looks like I was able to work that out pretty well. Nope. Oh, there we go. Hi. And someone still managed to hit the alarm. Yeah, yeah. Everyone on Twitter is gushing over FF7, and I can certainly see why. I mean, while I haven't been able to, while I haven't been able to make my pre-order yet. I mean, even if I don't manage to pre-order the game, a purchase is still very much in the cards. Okay, fine. If I can't yeet you off into the distance, then I'll just smack you with this hammer and be done with
The enemy is broken. Well done. Now get to extraction.
it. Oh, the ragdoll physics in this game make for some unexpected comedy. Oh yeah, I read up about that. And I think I think the ambiguity of what happened with that first reactor, like I really do get where you're coming from with that. I think if there was a way for that, like I think if they had shown that off, or if they had made the decision to show that off a little bit later in the game, like uncover you know actually uncovering more of Shinra's activities later, then I think that might have been more effective. Excuse me.
Operator, did you hear that? It said cosmic background radiation is a riot.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with fleshing out the world, and they're doing quite a bit in that regard. But I would say that I would say that maybe showing a little bit less during the during that early part of the game. I think that would help. So if nothing else, just leaving out that little part of the cutscene where it shows them triggering the bomb. You can leave that out, and it wouldn't really change. It wouldn't change anything as far as the scene itself, let alone how effective it is in helping to convey the action.
Excellent armaments, operator. Please return covered in blood. Safe and sound.
But yeah, I would say at least as far as this goes, as far as today's episode of Warframe Wednesday, oh, this is definitely another one where we could end it here, and that would be the end of that. Like I've explained as much as I could about Banshee, and I'll say it again. Banshee is definitely a Warframe that could use a rework. Oh yeah. No, I wholly agree. Let's jump back to this one. Yeah, and it's really nice to see. It's really nice to see that the cast they got for the game are also huge fans of the material. I mean, that's honestly that is probably the best. I'd say that's the best little that's the best key ingredient that you could have in regards to actually hiring a cast. All right, let me see how quickly I can cut through this mission.
Let's go on the offensive.
Wait, there we go. All right, give me just 1 second, you guys. All right, let's hop back to it. Now, there is one thing. Like, for anyone getting into playing Warframe, there's one thing I always want y'all to keep in mind. Any frame can be viable. Like, any Warframe can be viable for use in solo or team play. It doesn't matter if it's, personal favorites like Limbo or even frames like Banshee that again could really benefit from just having a top to bottom ability overhaul. There are still ways to make them work. It's just depends on how you manage the mindset for it. Yeah, and also isn't Titania due for a revision soon as well? Uh,
The enemy is broken. Well done. Now get to extraction.
yeah, I really like like if we're talking about the armor designs and just the look of certain warframes. Mesa, Mesa Prime and Limbo Prime are definitely two of my favorites visually. Like they just look really, really slick. Okay, but with that being said, I think we're gonna go ahead and call it for this edition of Warframe Wednesday. I know, I said I was going to focus solely on Banshee, but I just have to say it from where I'm sitting. Compared to other Warframes, she doesn't necessarily bring as much to the table. Maybe it's just because her abilities. I think it's that her abilities, you know, after covering some of the others that we have, her abilities are still relatively straightforward. So she's more like a stealth based Excalibur in that regard. And yeah, she's not necessarily the most durable late game. Well, on that note, you guys have yourselves a top notch Wednesday. We'll be back with more coming tomorrow morning.
Is that a pun? I'm gonna take it as that as well.
And I got to finish getting ready for work and getting myself some breakfast. So, stay good, neighborhood. I'll catch you next time.